you get up early and watch the game?
I am very sad to say I tried to wake up, but I had, long night before.
Sure.
I woke up second period on.
Thanks.
So I missed the first goal, U.S. goal.
That was pure brilliance. Did you guys watch it?
I watched it.
No, I didn't watch the game?
I watched it on social. I saw it. I looked at the highlights. So I woke up for second period on, but I missed that first goal.
My oldest kid is just a sports junkie, and he messaged me the night before, and he's like, "Hey, tomorrow morning, 5:50, because he lives upstairs still. He's in flight school, but going to college. He's like, 5:50, I'm going to set my alarm. And he's like, if you're not up here by 6, he's like, I'm coming down to get you.
See
he's
that?
Like, we're going to watch the game together. So we set up there.
That makes me sound lazy. It's 4:50 for us.
That's true.
So I tried.
That's what I meant.
And then I woke up. I had my alarm set, everything, and I kind of dozed back off. Then I woke up 15 minutes later, so I caught the very tail end of the first and then second.
Yeah, people listening are missing the forefront of this conversation. We were talking about teeth.
Yeah.
And you showed us you're missing one, it looks like.
And Jeff's teeth.
I've smashed this front one out 2 times. I didn't bother fixing it the 3rd time. That's the truth.
Yeah. Smashed it out on concrete.
Yeah, and then my face obviously looks straight on the camera. Obviously looks beautiful today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously looks beautiful.
I
took a slam 2 days ago.
I got a text that said, I fucked my face up. I'll see you on Tuesday. And I just got a picture. So what happened?
That's about normal for us, I would say. Just about every other week something happens. No, I fell off my skateboard, to put it bluntly. Took a bad slam, kind of at the tail end of filming a skateboard video, and I was trying to shoot a photo for a Yeti print ad in a magazine. And it was something I'd already done. So I thought, I'm going to go and shoot this picture. I'd get it done. And thought I'd go for it and just died. Just ate shit on this 40-foot bank, went upside down, hit my face on the floor. Honestly, immediately thought I'd broke my nose, thought my tooth was going to be sideways, and it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I just took a bad fall. So
yeah, I told you
that's the way it goes. You go on a podcast interview, these things you
can't plan for it.
Yeah, can't plan for it. So
when you were walking in today, I said it's not as bad as the picture I would have thought.
No,
the picture, I'm like, oh,
he wiped
shit.
the blood off this morning.
Yeah, I scraped all the freaking rocks out of my teeth and lips the other night and everything. But yeah, not as bad as it could have been. But you just got to be thankful.
Yeah, I think it's on par. I feel blessed because I feel we get the full experience.
Exactly.
Like if he walks in just looking completely,
bright
and shiny.
I think it's awesome. Trail and I were talking yesterday. We both said you're still getting after it, which is it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. You do what I'm fortunate enough to get to do what I love to do, what I've always wanted to do as a kid. I've done it most of my life professionally, and I don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to stay at the level, and I've always been a guy that I don't really take my foot off the gas. I feel lazy.
Can't tell.
I feel lazy. I feel lazy, when I just don't give it everything. I really do. And just as you get older, it catches up to you. You break a lot of stuff and everything. So staying in shape is a big deal. I haven't drank any alcohol in a year and a half, almost 2 years. So always trying to stay on the good side of health is me, and that's hard. It's hard with what I do. Skateboarding's not as I would say as affluent as a lot of other sports and those things. You've kind of really gonna want to do it if you really want to do it your whole life. And I made that decision a long ass time ago. So
yeah, how many years is it now that you've been
I've been professional since I was 15 years old. I'm 49. I'm 50. And I have a full video coming out in June for a skateboard company, and that's kind of what I got hurt on.
Yeah.
But I love it. I can't help but do it. But I'm gonna say this right early, quick now though, that physically going to the gym and doing all. If I'd have just focused on staying fit traditionally, like you see most people do, and going in the gym, messing with the cardio, all that would not work for me. It would not have worked, and I tried, and for quite a few years when we first met, a lot of doctors I would see after injuries, I wasn't recovering the way that I wanted to recover. And just changing my lifestyle I always loved the outdoors and hunting, and changing that just psychologically and mentally to that's where my energy needs to go to stay in shape. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. And I say it not to fluff your balls up, Jake, but the challenge of sheep hunting is unreal.
Yeah.
The challenge is the level of sheep hunting that Jake demands and that Kika demands is no joke.
Yeah.
Physically, And I like that challenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I relish that challenge, and I benefit from that. Selfishly, I benefit from that challenge.
It's a good mental challenge too. It's like it's the mental side too.
Well, I mean,
sure.
anything in the top percentage of whatever, whether you're a doctor, a scientist, or a hunting guide, an outfitter, if you're in that top few percent of any profession like that, you're probably in it. You're in it all day, every day.
Yeah.
And
When you're known as the outfit that goes and finds the ghosts, no matter what it takes, like. Yeah, that's that mental grind.
And we don't have a huge crew either. You know, it's just a few of us. Like, you know, this year it was Geoff helping me on this last one, and he gets there, and I rode there horseback, and like, I had to hike one mountain, but he gets there and he's got the double drip, you know, off the brim of his hat, dunk, 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 you know, and he's 50 years old. But yeah, we freaking work hard.
Yeah,
big time.
I love it. You know what I mean? And I love it. I love doing it, and I love doing it with Jake because I feel really comfortable as a person with Jake. Like very personal things. I knew like when we first started hanging out, I felt very comfortable around you. I can trust people with my life like that if I trust them and I know their strengths and weaknesses and their, you know what I mean? There's no ego, and like you can look them in the eye and go, "Am I okay?" And they go, "No, you're not okay." And that's happened quite a few times.
2 or 3 times. With
really?
Geoff. Yeah.
I gotta know how you guys met. So
2012.
And before we dive too deep, I'm just gonna give names. So Jake Franklin,
Kika Worldwide,
and Geoff Rowley, professional skater,
Professional skateboarder,
hunting guide,
hunting.
the
hunter.
coolest job title together ever.
Yeah.
Professional skateboarder and hunting guide.
Oh, he was a kick-ass snowboarder, which you probably don't want to talk. He was a kick-ass sponsored snowboarder.
Yeah, talking about that
Really?
back when I first met you. I remember hearing that.
Yep. And then I stopped when I was young, but competed and had sponsors and all the stuff. It was fun. Grew up in the mountains, so.
So I got to know how you met though, because to me, like if you're the outside looking in, it seems like the opposite of two spectrums, like two different ends of the spectrum, right? You have a hunting guide, you have a guy from Liverpool, grew up in Liverpool, and then I lived in England for a few years. I want to ask you later about what that was like growing up in England, and then to go to hunting. And the reason I bring that up is because I was telling these guys yesterday when I lived in England. This is like late '90s. I remember walking down a high street and you would see like people handing out pamphlets, like, animal cruelty pamphlets. They'd have these big old, booths set up where they would have like pictures of foxes that were like strung out across, somebody killed a fox and they were trying to ban hunting. And then anybody I'd ever talked to, if I mentioned to them that I hunted, they're like, "Oh yeah, I hunt mule deer, I hunt elk." It was like frowned upon. Like that was not kosher, not cool at all.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested from the background, the perspective of you growing up there, and then you being a hunting guide. Like, how did you guys gel? How did you meet?
Cowboy, and you're a cowboy.
Yeah.
Back in the day too, right?
Well, just horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like horseman and Liverpool skateboarder.
Yeah.
Well, there's a connection. I mean, you can either explain or I can explain. I mean, he comes from search and rescue.
Yeah.
Right. We both live in Southern California. I lived more towards the coast because that's where a lot of my industry and work is. Right. And Jake lived in the foothills and grew up in the foothills of the San Bernardino Mountains.
Yeah. I grew up at 8,500 feet.
He grew up at 8,500 feet, and I've had a cabin and place up on that mountain for 20, 30 years or something. So the area where Jake grew up, I was very familiar with. I had a house up there for a long time, and I loved that mountain. And late thousands, like 2008, 9, 10, 11, I was starting to want to pursue hunting more, understand it. How am I going to pursue that with having a full-time gig doing what I do in skate, where I'm traveling all over the place. I don't have a lot of free time. I ran a business at that time with partners and responsibility. And I was trying to figure out how to do more of that and get it. And I didn't know a lot of people neither. Right? So I'm just quietly starting to learn how to hunt and go out with people I know. And it was very early days for me, And I think I shot the first thing the year before that, or year or two before that. I shot a mountain lion in Colorado. It's the first thing I shot.
That was your first hunt was mountain lion?
No, first hunt that I shot something, that I killed something was a mountain lion.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't.
That's different.
I love hunting and killing. I do. I love the process of it, but it's not why. I love learning the animals.
Yeah.
Like how they move around, trying to figure them out. You know what I mean? I like that side of it more than anything. And I was trying to learn just the mountain I was living on, okay? Mule deer, bears, predators. Where am I going to start? What am I going to do? And I'm a big predator guy. I like predators. That's why I was hunting lion.
Totally obsessed.
I hunted lion for 10, 11 years, every year, never shot a lion, then shot one in 2011. I wanted to learn how to track and trail, and I wanted to feel comfortable in
Yeah.
completely alien environments like 10,000 foot in Colorado where you don't know where you are, you know? So I went out a bunch on that, and it kind of started there where I wanted to hunt bears up on the local mountains, and you might want to pronounce that for me on camera.
Bears. Yep. I learned that back when I first met you. I'm like, oh, bears.
You've heard of the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
They roll their R's in
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know, Scouser, as Paddy the Baddy would say, right?
Yep.
We roll our R's, so it's hard to say that name. So I was looking at that animal, and I was on the top of the mountain on the higher elevation where you grew up, right? About 10,000 feet, looking down into the desert, going, the bears are moving down that way. So I looked up that area and saw there was an outfitter in that area, and I booked a hunt. And he was my guide.
Yep.
So I booked a hunt.
So natural. That's a very natural way to come across each other.
Just to be straight, I booked a hunt with San Gorgonio Wilderness Outfitters, right, who Jake used to work for. And I get to camp, and Jake's my guide. And then we've been friends ever since.
That's awesome.
And still has not shot his bear.
I haven't shot a bear yet.
So this is
you're a terrible guide, is what you're saying.
It's terrible.
The hunt's still continuing. It's actually my longest hunt to date.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So you guys haven't given up on that
How
one.
it keeps him around.
We started in 2012.
Yeah, we haven't finished yet.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh.
So that was your start into outfitting and guiding then?
Yeah, with San Gorgonio Outfitters in
Okay.
2008 is when I started. And it's primarily a sheep outfit. And then I just started doing sheep, and then I came here to Nevada and was doing sheep here and in California. And then in the October, November timeframe, we would shoot deer and elk. Not elk, deer and bears.
Yeah.
Some elk. But
How did you come to hunting? Because
Me?
I gotta be honest, man. So like I followed you forever. I think I told you like you, hands down, one of my very favorite skaters, and I skated all through high school. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. But when I heard that you hunted, I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. He's definitely my favorite person on the planet. But I was kind of like caught off guard. I was like, how did he come to hunting? Because it seems
really honestly, really naturally through somebody that I grew up with that was obsessed, absolutely obsessed. He's a wildlife artist, and he volunteered my whole life for the Forestry Commission in the north of England. And that was like, even as a skateboarder, he skated. He was about 10 or 12 years older than I am, and he was sponsored in the city I grew up in Liverpool, and I looked up to him. Big time, looked up to him because he was good to us, good to all the younger kids. And then as I got to 15, 16 years old and I started to hang out with him more and more and more, he started to tell me what he did outside of that.
Gotcha.
You know, what are you doing tonight? I'm going to probably skate. Do you want to go and sit on a fox earth? Do I want to go and sit on what for? To watch them come out and check them out. I'm like, okay, I did. I sat down, and the patience of watching them come out, I loved it. And then I went out and sat on badgers with him in the dark, so pitch black in these old, like, freaking badger sets in the woods. You'd have all these big-ass European badgers all the way around you. Well, he works for the Forestry Commission, like I said, and he does a lot of deer management and, like, estate management over the years. And so when I was first introduced to, like, through predators like that, where we'd go out and he'd call in predators, he wasn't shooting them at first, he was showing me them. And then I went up north with him in the Lake District, and then he would be doing work a lot of times. Or he'd say, hey, do you want to come up? I need to go up to this area to count deer up in this area, or see what's happening in that area. So I started going out with him. So I started going out and stalking deer, trying to get as close as we can. No guns. He had a gun, but the goal was to get as close as you can, touch the deer. The classic touch the deer, like lay down in the middle of the fell and see how close you can get, right? I love that shit.
Yeah, that would be
I've been obsessed. And then I was 18 years old, and then I moved to America with $153 in my pocket.
Holy shit.
Like, what do you... That's how I got into hunting. That's how I got in. Then I left, and that person that I looked up to, he's did it his whole life and still does it everywhere. He's a phenomenal wildlife artist. His name's Andrew Warrington. Look him up. He's phenomenal. And he's an incredible hunter as well. And Jake reminds me of him. You do. Like, their style of guiding, the style of, like, approaching the outdoors is very similar. No ego and real.
Yeah.
Everything's like, there's no lying. Oh, it's 2 inches bigger. No, it is what it is. You know, it's not a Houdini. It's a fucking sheep. Excuse my French. It is.
Hey, you're good here.
We have to remind ourselves that, don't we?
There's
but that's
no,
how
like,
I got into
Houdinis.
it.
They're all just animals.
You know, who I really looked up to, who skated, also was hunting.
Gotcha.
And that was my mentor. So when I moved here years, you know, gets to 2008, 9, 10, 11, and I want to really start pursuing my hunting more because my body's not feeling great. I know that's my passion. That's just been sitting there dormant. That was the catalyst. I had somebody to call over there and say, I'm going to pursue this more. I'm going to hunt more and more and more. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know I have to do this. It's there. It's my call, and I knew I had to do something in there. But that's who I called.
Well,
that's who I called.
Listening to Trail from the outside looking in, listening to Trail who lived there, would you 2 years?
Yeah.
In all the
99 to 01. Yeah.
So all the anti stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you meeting this guy.
Hey, it's no different than here, except over there culturally, they just put a boot on the whole of British culture and heritage. Put a boot on it, closed it in.
Yeah.
It's just taking a little bit longer over here.
Yeah.
That's what happened, and it happened within a year or two of me moving to the States. They banned all handguns, if you remember, and I didn't have guns then. I just remember going, what? I just left, and they banned all handguns everywhere across the country. It's a cultural thing. Like, it's not connected to like the history of people's lives the same anymore. You know, whereas I grew. If you look at Liverpool on the map, it's very close to the North Wales. You go 20 minutes, you're in very rural north, like countryside. And if you go an hour north of Liverpool up the coast there, it's very rural, very beautiful, very much like Northern California, rolling oaks and hills and just kind of crunched in. And just those communities have just been isolated, and the bigger cities, like every island, even more, quicker. Things happen faster on an island because it's contained. The culture is just eating away at it. Like, I don't think, like in the UK when I'm there and I tell people I hunt, they just don't know what it is in the room. It's like the response is not quite what you think it is, where it's, oh, I don't like hunting. There's no response. There's no connection to it the same way. And hopefully we can help just a little bit of that, because it's important to be connected. But that's what it is, and it's a more of a, you know, it's a public resource here. It's like there's animals on public land. You can go and shoot a massive elk and put that in your freezer and eat it. In England, it's a commodity. It's all on private ground. You have to be in farming practices to have access to that. And outfitters, like what Kika is in California, they just they run a little bit quiet and under the radar over there, because if people in the general local areas know that this is outfitter going on all these estates all over the place, it creates conflict, and it creates a reason for somebody to go, we don't like that a little bit. So I don't know. I think culturally it's not there. So if you think about that, maybe it can be rebuilt. New. The next chapter. That's the way I look at some stuff like that, because there's a lot of people that are interested in it. You know,
that's the interesting thing about kind of the day and age we're in here in the States is, I mean, I grew up hunting. It was, and I've said it before on the podcast, like I never in a billion years would have thought that I ever would have looked at a bill like IP-20 out of Oregon, or
the Colorado stuff,
or the Colorado stuff, or all that kind of, you know, policy, and that's starting to change, or, you know, hopefully it doesn't change, but like I never could have imagined that ever, and it seemed alien. Like, why would I not be able to hunt? Like, why would somebody not go hunting? We all go hunting. We have a day off of school for the deer hunt. Like when I went to high school, you know?
Yeah, opening weekend.
Yeah,
right?
opening weekend.
Monday was off.
In October. I mean, we had time off to go hunt from school. I mean, I took hunter education as part of my regular 7 periods in middle school. Like, we had a conservation officer that came to this middle school and taught hunter conservation and hunter safety. We all went through the program. Y'all got your card at the end. Like, everybody I went to school with. So to me, right now where I'm at, where I'm like, it's insane. It's literally insane. But if anything, like, I've learned that you can also now, I mean, we have to be a voice for it, right? And you can see how things can flip. So we saw this, you know, this introduction of this bill to stop mountain lion hunting in Colorado, right? And based on the heels of the wolf reintroduction, I think everybody kind of thought, it'll probably happen, you know what I mean? But we flipped that. Just organically, just grassroots, just like talking to your neighbor, talking to your friends, talking to your family that's from Colorado about why it's important to you. So I think you're right. I think those things can flip if we're loud about it.
Yeah.
We've been so quiet as hunters.
I think it definitely can flip, and part of the confidence in that comes from in Denver, the Denver area, whatever county that is. It won by 11 points to shut down Prop 127. 11 points in the Denver county.
Wow.
Like, that's not even rural. The rural,
Right.
like, taking into account that stuff. It's just Denver. It won by 11 points to shut it down.
Yeah.
Like,
well, when people step up, they
exactly.
can make a difference, can't they? It's just, I mean, California, though, we live in California. Like that question of can you step up to that and have a voice?
Yeah.
It's harder. It doesn't get any harder than in California when you're talking about like wildlife management and laws that affect people that live in the state, that hunt, fish, or live in the city. It affects everybody more than a lot of other states, and it's not mentioned a lot. Like the amount of conflict we have between our predators on the edges of our cities and how that happens and what's making that happen.
Yeah.
And no one's mentioning that, you know, the majority of it, almost all of it, is human caused.
Absolutely.
Like, what?
Yeah.
How sick is that as a society that we just allow that and don't like put our hands up and go, we can help these animals? No, we'll just keep creating these bad habits that get them killed.
Yeah.
You know? But bad laws in California with wildlife, that's what we should talk about, how we can help that in California, because it's an uphill battle.
And California is an interesting place. Like, people, you can, I guess, kind of compare it to like Washington, Oregon, because you have coast side and eastern side. But California is so big, and the difference in people from north to south and in the middle, it is wild. Like the amount of farmland in, you know, Butte Sink, San Joaquin Valley.
Right.
You know, you get all that, and then you get north into the redwood forests and all that stuff. And then you go south into desert and beach. Like the amount of different landscape
and dynamics of people and
dynamics
wildlife.
of people. Yeah, it's a crazy place.
Right.
Crazy
You're from
place.
California? Born and raised?
Born and raised, yeah.
Have you seen it change in your lifespan, or what's it like? I mean, you don't live like urban, right? Do you live out?
No, I've always lived pretty rural.
Mm-hmm.
I live as rural now as I did when I was raised, and I kind of lived a little less rural for 20 years. But no, it hasn't changed a lot, believe it or
Really?
not. California, I think everyone focuses so big on the big laws that all the little things that I see and I work with every single day are almost prehistoric. You know, like it's still one of the only states you can just buy a guide's license. You have to have no test, nothing. It's like $270 and you can be a guide in California. You know, our laws are pretty lax for the animals we hunt, and then all of a sudden, no more lead in the whole state. You know, and that's a huge thing that passed. You know, no lion hunting, no bobcat hunting. But the little integral parts, like they haven't changed and they're not changing. I think it's because the people that are actually in fish and game, that are the biologists and the people on the ground, they're actually pretty good in California. We have good biologists and good wardens. It's just when it goes to the ballot box, we lose a lot quick.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
On the big stuff, like you
Yep.
said. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I've loved it. I feel less restricted hunting in California than I do in, say, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana.
Colorado's one of the most restrictive when
It
it comes
is.
to outfitting. It's crazy.
It's hard.
It really is
It's hard. You know.
Their permitting structure, everything you got to have, everything you got to do, like it's tough.
Right. Like Alberta, Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That place is a trip too.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, you come from California; it's overregulated." I don't know if it's overregulated. It's just undereducated. The general populations of people.
Yeah.
If those, you know, if these bills aren't getting pushed by essentially the general public, we wouldn't have a lot of change, and it'd be ran pretty good. You know, like look at our sheep program right now. It's doing so good. You know, we have Paige Prentice running the program, and I mean, we're getting this year, you know, 5 or 6 new sheep tags in new zones. So that's so much paperwork and so much work by the biologists to open up public hunting for us. And then California right now, we have like 15 new elk tags every year. I mean, the opportunity's growing,
Yeah.
not shrinking. And then all of a sudden you just get like taken out at the knees by some crazy bill.
That's the stuff that's hard to follow, is like the opportunity's growing, but then you hear like the killing Catalina thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, you lose mountain lion and bobcat hunting. It's California's
It's
a
the manner
wild
in which
state.
they pass the laws, which I think is really hard to take.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're going to do what we want when we want, and we're going to choose when we do it. And when we're going to do it, it's going to be a big deal. And then we're going to turn around, and that's it. Deal with
Yeah.
it. Swallow it up. You know, no management of our big predatory cats in the whole state. And yet it's the most
very
distributed
minimal on
animal,
bears.
pretty much.
Yeah.
One of the most distributed predators, right?
Yeah.
We've got them everywhere. And yet apparently we have not enough lions out there, or it makes no sense.
They're everywhere.
Zero sense.
When people's dogs are getting attacked in their backyards and on biking trips, I mean,
yeah,
that's a
they're
sign.
in his backyard. They're
Yeah.
in my backyard. They're,
That's a sign that's a healthy population.
and we're
There's
out every
enough.
day, right? We're out hiking, looking at tracks
Yeah.
all day, every day. We see when there's an adjustment in those numbers just by sheer looking at it so much. And they are everywhere, you know.
Man, even the roughest climate in the desert where there's no deer, nothing but bighorn sheep, a lion will find his way in there and find the water. And then you can watch that population. It's
Yeah.
happened to 2 ranges. One lion. I mean, it takes 5 years, but that lion's there for 5 years, and watch the population just
Fall
plummet.
off a
Yeah,
cliff
just
You know,
annihilates
the
them.
Cadies went from 6 tags to 1 or 2
Yeah.
because of lions.
because of lions. Yeah.
We had on one of those waterholes 4 or 5 heads or something, fully mature rams.
I mean,
dead.
it becomes a fast food drive-through when a lion finds it,
Oh,
right?
they'll
I
put,
mean,
they'll put a hurt on sheep.
yeah, like the
I
sheep,
mean-
they have to go there for their water.
Yeah, and there's like
so
2 waters in the
that
whole range.
lion understands. I don't even need to hunt anymore. I just need
Once
to
they find
sit
the
here.
water, once they
Yeah.
trail a mule deer or whatever it is, or the sheep to the water,
It's done.
it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it can be.
wait.
The Orocopias is done, which is like
Really?
which has always been
That
it's
wasn't
the
that your
spot.
guy? Yeah, that
It's
was
the
top
spot
unit.
for big rams, like
yeah.
in the world, and it's devastated one big tom, and
Does the state do anything
Crazy.
about lions for sheep
No.
specifically, or does the law still
it,
apply that you can't
if
kill?
it's an endangered species, they can kind of work towards a solution
Sure.
on certain lions, which I think they just changed back this year for Sierra Nevada bighorns. So now they can do relocating and other things to get lions away from the Sierra Nevada bighorns, but they can't do anything on
For
regular
desert
wildlife.
sheep.
desert
That's
sheep.
so crazy.
just
So they
treat
just
it
let
like
it play out.
they're just treated
Yeah.
like an animal that's doing what it should be doing, and we've got to leave it doing what
So
it
as
should
we
be doing.
constrict the usable range of the sheep, and we constrict their water sources, and
Right, and
shelter,
migration
and
patterns.
migration patterns, and then we just can't do anything.
Yeah, so
about
we
the predators.
create the problem,
Yeah,
right? The lion comes there,
yeah.
and then we allow that to be there and eat away at the
And do
thing that's
nothing
we've
about
spent
it.
millions of dollars freaking trying to build back up. You know,
So
it's
crazy.
difficult to do, but it's a tough scenario for the biologists and for everybody in the middle of that, somewhat,
sure.
because it is doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
We've just subsidized the waters in a lot of the desert areas to where the animals that are going to go to those waters are vulnerable. You know, any kind of area like that where you have a remote water hole or a remote water source or food source, stuff's going to come in from everywhere, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? It's always going to be a vulnerable spot for wildlife.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting that they.
So crazy.
I mean, given the status of desert bighorn sheep or just bighorn sheep in general, I know what they would do in Utah. I know what they do in Utah.
Oh yeah, Utah's great.
If you've got a lion in a sheep population that's causing an issue,
Lion's gone.
There's not a lion there that much longer.
Yeah.
But at least we have good biologists and people that are on the ground kind of really got their hands on the sheep and trying to make the program better, pass good laws. They've introduced quite a few new game laws in the last year or two that have been really good, splitting up units, things like that, so people aren't hunting on top of each other. We have good management of our sheep in the state. Like, I would say very good.
Yeah.
And then
You
their
know,
hands are tied
And it's getting better.
Yeah.
because of the big laws, right?
Yeah.
And so
They can only work within the box that they're given.
Right, and they do a great job.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have much ill to say about California Fish and Game.
Yeah.
Well, we have with the Mojave, the highest recorded temperature, lowest elevation, and we have the highest elevation in North America with Mount Whitney as well,
Yeah.
right? We have sheep at every freaking.
That's what California
from
is the
zero
wildest
elevation
landscape.
to 13,000 feet. We have desert sheep,
Yeah, it's crazy.
and the Mojave's a big area. Give it due credit. The Mojave's a massive desert, right? So there's a lot of areas that we could be possibly hunting more sheep in more areas. And they are there's areas, right?
Yeah.
And they're opening up the areas.
There's going to be more open next year or the year after.
And they're the right
They're
areas, though,
opening 3
Jake,
this
right?
year.
You would say some of the right areas. So the biologists are definitely looking at it right, which is really, really, which is a nice thing to see.
That's why it's so hard to follow California. It's like there's so much good and then all this just crazy shit at the top.
I mean, it's an incredible state.
It really is.
I mean, you go to California, it's you can't just love it for the parts and pieces that it is. I mean, it's awesome country. You know, it's just the policy and the politics that get involved.
It's still a Wild West too.
Yeah.
Jeff and I were talking about it.
Out in the sticks?
Driving over. No, everywhere. It's
Really?
still a Wild West. Yeah. Like, again, like, it's the most under-policed state I've ever been to. Like, we just drive and
Yeah, we don't see anybody. I don't never see anyone out in the desert. Like, quite literally, people
just drive, hang out.
Just whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know why, but it's like very under-policed. You go to any other state and you get pulled over 3 times on your way to go hunt, you know? And California, you're just like, wow, here we are doing our own thing.
It's funny.
so
Anytime
wild.
we bring up California or I say anything about California, inevitably I'll get 10 to 15 DMs that
Absolutely.
are like,
Just get ripped on.
well, they're just like, you should come to California and hunt blacktail. You should come here and hunt mule deer. It's incredible, you know? So, and we have a ton of hunters. Like if we were
A ton of hunters
if
out
we
there.
were to pull up our list of insiders,
It's our number one state.
It's our number one state. I mean,
Yeah.
we have people in California that absolutely love to hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a trip, and cutting my teeth there and then guiding all over the world as well. I get to see a lot of differences, and I'm still there, you know?
Yeah.
And building roots there still. So
I want to get into. Can we get into sheep hunting? Just I'm
Love to.
I'm just.
It's the dream.
I
Let's all daydream.
I was
here
telling
for a
Jeff
little bit.
earlier. We walked out of the truck. I've never been on a sheep hunt, so I've killed piles of animals, lots of elk, deer, antelope. I've never been on a sheep hunt. I remember when I worked for the division and somebody would bring in a sheep, we would, plug it, right, do the score and everything. And I remember doing some plugs and just get to talk to people that were lucky enough to draw a sheep tag. And, inevitably they want to relive their hunt, just tell you every detail about it, which was awesome. And it was just cool to have the heads in there. But, I mean, how are you finding sheep like this? Like, what is it about sheep hunting in particular?
Sheep hunting in particular, I think they're a beautiful animal, and their horns just feel different than everything else.
It's just the mass, huh?
Yeah,
The weight.
and the fact that they just live in gnarly places, as well as they rut in the wildest climates in the world. Like desert sheep rut in August and it's 120 degrees. Bighorns rut in November and it's minus 40.
Yeah.
And they're on the windy slope because that's where all the wind blows the snow off, and they're rutting. And it's like no other animal just exposes themselves to death like a sheep does. And they're very fragile animals, too. I mean,
that's what we had a podcast one of the other days. They're the hardiest animal on planet Earth, aside from sickness. Then they're fragile.
Olfactory system.
Yeah.
Right.
Then they're
Awful.
so fragile.
Or helicopter capturing them. You walk up and in a big ram, you can just grab them like that. And they're like, okay, you got me.
Just give up.
I'm out. Bobcats kill a bunch of ewes because they just run up and grab their throat, and the ewes are like, yep, I'm screwed.
They just give up.
They just give up.
Holy shit.
I always think
didn't
of
know
them
that.
like a helicopter, like this amazing machine, but just
One thing goes wrong.
One thing goes wrong, and then everything comes crashing down.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of interesting characteristics as an animal, but on the hunts, there's never a sheep hunt without massive challenge. And
I think the from the outside looking in, I think a lot of people think a sheep hunt's easy. Just being completely honest,
Right.
like when I look at a sheep hunt, I'm like, that guy's going to go out 3 days, he'll kill a sheep, because the tags are limited, the resources there in most cases, they manage it. To me, they look fairly glassable. And this again,
Right.
I'm talking from ignorance.
totally.
I mean, you would do some damage on a sheep hunt. You're built for a sheep
Right.
I don't know. 120 sounds terrible.
Other
I hate
100
damn
and how
it.
about 147?
No, man.
That
a hard-
sounds
that's a hard
not
no.
up your alley, but the rest of it for you.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think you would do some
Rockies.
damage.
Maybe I should stick to Rockies.
Yeah.
But it's not always physical, and it's not hunting capabilities sometimes. It's this mental state that you're in. You have the tag that you've had your whole life, right? You wanted your whole life.
Yeah.
You've been dreaming about it, or you bought a tag for a lot of money, and you're there, and you're going, oh, and then you have 6 months to wait, and you're trying to figure out, how do I make sure I capitalize on this? And you're just mentally taxed the whole time. And then when you're actually there hunting, you're having to put your money where your mouth is, essentially, and be successful. And so all that's just tripping you out. Like, it's like, drawing the Arizona Strip, there's a lot of difficulty there on the pursuit. But, like, expectations, all your friends, everybody you know, it's like, oh, my friend drew a sheep tag. And everybody's looking at you, and you wake up one morning and you got a stomach ache or whatever, and then your mind just
do you like guiding?
Tortures you. Yeah, it
sounds terrible to me.
It's all I do. Like,
somebody's expectation, all that's built up into that. That's why I could never be a good guide.
Yeah,
I think the environment plays a big role for people. Once they get there and they feel the openness, no trees, the long glassing, long hiking.
Yeah.
Where are we going? On the top of that mountain over there? Their gauge of distance is not the same. Like, our gauge is different. We're looking at bigger country all the time. We're equating different distances. I think your average person, and even if you haven't sheep hunted before, that distance equation, even just walking in it, has an effect on you and has an exposure on your body that if you're not used to it, after a few days, you can kind of get depleted. You can kind of not think straight. And I would imagine, I haven't been a sheep client of the outfit yet.
Soon
right?
to be. Yeah.
Soon to be at some point. But
once we get his
I've noticed when I look at clients in the face, and I look at their physicality and like where they started when they come to camp, of like what their expectations are, what they know about the situation, and then what happens at the end. Everything in the middle there, when it gets to the end, that's a lot for them. Like, that's whatever happens in the middle, it's a hell of a lot. And then when they get to the end, that emotional release can come in every different way. It can mean I've just missed 4 times.
Yeah.
And yet I can usually shoot everything. It just has a different effect of what I can see in people's faces than your average hunt or kill. I mean, a big elk and a big mule deer is going to do something similar but
been fortunate to guide a lot of big animals, big deer, big elk, big things all over. And there's more tears when people shoot sheep, even small sheep. There's more tears involved than any other animal. And from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, it's pretty easy. They're the ones who licked the side of my truck driving through that pass in Colorado, But there's something that happens, and the closest thing I can equate it to is there's always a challenge. Sometimes it's mental. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's both, but there's always a challenge.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to draw one desert sheep tag in my life in New Mexico in 2012. And, I mean, looking through the scope, like getting ready to pull the trigger on, or press the trigger, as Brady would say.
Yeah, Brady will get out.
on a desert, like it was different. And still to this day, I remember it being such a different feeling.
I mean, it's truly a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah,
it's the only time you'll ever get to experience that.
Like the stress level of trying to make that shot was more than anything I can ever remember on any big animal I've ever been fortunate enough to be behind a weapon on, or any of that. It was such a different feeling. And then walking up to the ram and grabbing onto him, the first immediate reaction I had is like, this could be the only time in my life I do this.
Right.
Like, this could be the only one.
Right.
And it's such a weird feeling. You walk up to a deer and an elk, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to do that again. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just my immediate reaction on the sheep was, this could be like my one chance.
And then you're 70 years old doing that.
Yeah.
Most people.
And you've applied for 40 years.
Yeah. I got fortunate enough to draw it at a very young age on my second year applying. Like, beyond lucky, drawing that tag.
That's mad.
It's like you said, most people are 60, 70 years old. And
imagine just being maxed out on your health and maxed out on life, and then you draw your dream hunt you've wanted your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
And then I love just sitting next to them and then just being like, I want some of that stress. Give it to me a little bit here.
Yeah, that sounds stressful.
I'm so intense. Like,
yeah, game day, kill day.
I'm not pleasant to be around. I mean, I'm pleasant to be around, but I'm just have one thing on my mind, and it's freaking.
Love that.
It's called killing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Bill Belichick, man.
I love it.
Is.
If you think, though, everyone we've had like come out to sheep hunt, how many of those people, if you were to take a cross-section, how many of them have even spent any time in the Mojave Desert? How many of them have been in that environment?
So, we had a guy this year who was still a trapper out there.
Okay.
He knew
Gotcha.
every drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
but
cool.
he was the exception to the rule,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times people are coming out, they've applied 40 years, and they're coming
Never stepped
from
foot.
Iowa, or they're coming from NorCal.
Mhm.
Right.
And they have no idea what it's like to spend 2 days in the
desert.
California desert, where it's the highest recorded temperatures and lowest elevation, and dry as it could be.
Yeah, and it's
like
0 degrees when we wake up, and you're like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yeah.
Why
But
is
it can
so
shift.
cold?
That's
It's
something
70,
too.
like,
Yeah,
it's
we had
insane.
it snow, didn't we? Right here a couple of years ago.
Right.
And on one of our sheep hunts, we woke up in the morning and him and I were just blanketed in snow. We were supposed to go glassing. Like, it can shift
Yeah.
a lot.
Desert is a wild place.
It is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It hurts so bad, like thinking about it. The desert it just hurts my body and my mind.
Yeah.
Your hands
Hands, yeah.
split.
Yeah. For you, is it more physical or more mental, or is it? Can you put a percentage to each?
Yeah, like if somebody's going to be a good sheep hunter, they have to be so super mentally strong, over physically strong. And the reason I say that is because the mental challenge far exceeds the physical challenges most of the time, and a really strong-minded person can push themselves to accomplish wild things if you're mentally strong.
And
right.
what is it? Is it primarily in glassing? Like you're just sitting for hours?
Well,
is it the environment,
like
the heat?
all of it. Like
All
you
of
just
it.
have to sit there for sometimes 3 days in one spot on a rock, and maybe you're sleeping there next to the rock at night and then waking up and glassing. Sometimes it's out of a pickup, whatever it is. It's like an insane amount of patience because there's 100 sheep and the zone's 70 miles long, and you're looking at the right spot. You know it's the right spot because you know where the sheep are, and you haven't seen one yet. And so you just have to stay there. And then you find it, and you're 6 miles from the sheep, and you're at the wilderness line, and he beds in the perfect spot, and you're just like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like, we have to go right now. And then it's every ounce of physical
To get there.
that you have, but then you had to sit there without moving and eat every snack in your
Yeah.
backpack, and you just feel like the laziest you've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like you're hit with like this massive sprint to get it done, and then just like you can't mess up.
Yeah.
when you're there.
And that's why it's so euphoric too.
Yeah,
Because it takes both. It
Yeah.
takes
it's really hard. Like the super ambitious, like in shape hunters are always harder for me
for sure.
because they're just constantly
The ones
in
with
your ear.
ADD.
Yeah, they're constantly in your ear. We should go over there. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
we should hike up that ridge. And then you just are constantly explaining to them why you shouldn't do that. And then it like you start to question it. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe we should.
You start to
Like,
make allowances because you're at a point where you're like, I can't just sit here and listen to this person any longer. Like, ask me to move. Like, eventually you're just like, fine, I'll do it. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Well, the patience is important, but then when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And that's a weird dilemma of just going from 0 to 60 in the desert.
Yeah.
But then a lot of times it's the opposite, isn't it? Where we find something, a client or somebody that's used to hunting a certain way wants to go in. It's like, the sheep's right there. It's 3.5 miles away. We could go up to there and shoot it, and we couldn't.
Right.
That's happened quite a lot, right?
The last hunt we did, that was,
Yeah.
why aren't we killing that ram right now? And I'm like, it's not right. Like, we're going to get there and we're going to have 30 minutes. And, like, we need longer than that. And he's by himself. And if we bump him, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be maxed out when we get there. Like, it's a 3,000-foot climb in 4 miles. And, yes, we can get there with 30 minutes to an hour to spare. But, like,
We're not going to be in the headspace to be able to make a shot.
but then
And
he's an old ram, and we watch him bed down that night, and we watched him stand up the next morning. But that time we had rode horses in the dark all night, and then climb up, and you're sitting there, 300 yards from him, and we ended up still sitting there, which, like,
Well, we
maybe
got
60
out there
degrees
close
and
to
the coldest
dark.
I've been in a long time.
Let's put it that way. We climbed up both sides of the mountain. We're in position. Found him as he woke up with first light. So we were a few hours already into the trip. We packed out close to dark.
Yeah.
It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and everything was perfect. And everything went.
We nailed it.
And everything went perfect, exactly how we wanted it to go. It was the whole day.
Yeah. But we laid on him for an hour and a half. You know, you creep over, and it's like that's bringing your rifle over a ridgeline on a sheep is like coming to full draw on an elk at 11 yards. Like the amount of movement that they catch is insane. Like I don't know, it's wild. But anyway, like getting the rifle over, getting it set, everything's done, and we can see like the top ridge cap of his horns, you know, and then an hour and a half later he stood up, you know. But all our jackets, because it was a steep angle, every jacket, every pack, he was laying on top of our packs with all our jackets. It was me and Chris. And, dude, like, it was 60 degrees and the breeze picked up a little bit, and I was uncontrollably shivering. Yeah. It was insane. Shout out to stinking SIG stabilizers. Saved my life.
They're the best.
Yes.
They're the absolute best.
Yeah.
Like game changer.
They're
of a
pretty incredible
piece
tool.
of equipment.
I use them on my chest harness now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And same. I just switched 24/7 to the 16s. They're just And once you get used to them 24/7,
can't go back.
Insane.
Yeah.
So much better.
If an animal's 100 yards, I still use them.
Oh, absolutely. They're the best tool for a stock. Like
Ever.
once you actually pick up your pack and you put it on, you're like, we're going. And you're making that transition from like, we're going to get into kill mode. We're going to get within range. Like just keeping track of an animal, and you're watching it, and then you get in tight, you pull them up off hand and glass. It's the hands down the best tool.
I mean, those 2 seconds, isn't it? When you lift your binos up to get your body and your breathing straight, that's already been answered for you.
Yeah, you're looking at it. Yeah, I know for me, like I was slow to change. I didn't necessarily want to. Sorry, Tony.
You're always the last.
I was a little slow to change to it because I like good glass, right? And I think I took my kid out one time, and I've got a pair of Leicas or a pair of Swaros on my chest, and like I'm looking through them, and he's got my SIGs, and I'm going, hey, give me your binoculars, I just want to check that. And we were just like road hunting, so I was like giving him my Swaros so that I could have my SIGs because it was easier to see.
And now he's not able to see anything, and
yeah,
just
exactly.
Like,
but yeah, that was the point where I was like, I'm using those more than I'm using these. I mean, I still like good glass off of a tripod, but yeah, they're incredible.
Right. And then for guides calling shots for hunters,
sure,
it's changed
game
the game.
changer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like we know exactly where everything hits now. Like
yep. Instead
of like put your spotting scope up and get it dialed, and you're just hoping it doesn't run off. And if it looks at you, you're like, screw it, I'm just going to look through my 10s.
Yeah.
Little flinch. Dang it.
Something you said I wanted to ask you about. You said if you bump that ram, like you're done, that he's gone.
Yeah.
Is that the case? Like, will they move?
Depends, doesn't it?
Depends,
where the sheep would be at when you're going, what he's going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't risk it. I mean, a lot of times it took us 6 days to get on him, and he's not going to stop.
Like they'll clear country. They'll just keep moving.
They will.
Yeah,
they're
but
not like a mule deer where they'll hit a good saddle and then like bed where they can
kind
look
of
back on that
around,
saddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tomorrow I could probably
chill.
find that buck.
Yeah.
Depending on the time of the year, but like that's why I like bow hunting.
Well,
you find that thing in July, you can bump him 10 times and still find him the end of September.
I mean, this is all I've done, right, for 20 years. And we learn now, like, okay, we bumped a ram here. And it's like, okay, tomorrow we're going to be here, here, and here looking for him. Well, like if you look at the map, we're 15, 20 miles away, right? And we find him. And it's like first light, oh, yeah, I got him over here. It's like, okay, we found him,
20 miles. That's a long,
like, it's insane.
That's a long damn
ways. The ram we got with Blake a while back, the big one in the Orcopias, he just super chill in the morning and then kind of started to trot off. And we're like, oh, man, like, that's weird.
Anything because of you guys?
No, I don't think so.
He was kind of a weird ram.
He was a weird ram.
Yeah.
But then Jeff's like, I think I found him. And I'm like, well, where are you? And he was 13 miles from us. Yeah. And he's like, no, 100% it's him. And we're like, okay.
13 miles away.
Yeah.
It was messy.
Without even a hard bump.
He was in a weird spot, but where he could have been, but in a weird spot.
It was probably like
it's kind of at the end of where he would go.
6 or 7 miles straight. But like
as the crow,
yeah,
it's complicated.
Where he liked to be, he was kind of about as far away as he could go from there, you know? Like, he
Just weird.
wasn't going to go any further because there was nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, you know? He was in a weird spot.
Yeah.
He was in, like, a weird spot a little, you know? But some of those rams will do that.
He
They
was
have
in summer
movement
country when
patterns.
we killed him, which if you hunt desert sheep a lot, like, you can pretty much draw a circle around where they live in the summer and just be like, 100% the big ram's not going to be there. Let's go look somewhere else. And he was like less than a mile from a water source, which is insane for a wintertime ram.
Really?
Yeah. But that's,
At
you
least
learn that by,
where we
that's
hunt.
a sheep we known for a long time, wasn't it?
Mhm.
We'd known about him for a long time, and we'd seen him in multiple areas. We had a lot of idea of what he did, his movement, right? His movement from one end to the other. We had an idea of that. So
Like
we
7
knew,
years. of
yeah, we
watching
had
him.
an
Of
idea how
watching
to
that
hunt
sheep.
him. But he was similar to this sheep, wasn't he? Where
Yeah.
he was a bit quirky and bit, you know, did his things, and if you didn't know all of it, you ain't gonna kill him. And
Yeah.
you know, but he would pop up a little bit more, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Than this guy.
He
you know?
just, his head was too heavy.
This
Yeah.
is your most famous ram, right?
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Let's get
Probably
into
the most famous ram in the world, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys were the only ones who kind of knew where he would be, right?
Well, where he would be, yes. But we're not the only people that knew about
of
him.
him. Yeah.
Right, right. In 2015, we hunted him really hard, 63 days hunting for him.
Is that spaced over how many? What's the
It's
longest?
No, that's
spaced over
straight.
63 days.
I love how you just said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was like I
63 days
I-
straight.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
kidding.
And the only showers I got was at Love's truck stops. Like
The
straight
good
up.
ones, the good kind.
Yeah. Yeah, every now and then you hit a Love's and it's like a Hampton. Like
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
pretty sweet. But yeah, like it was straight and it was brutal and had some of the most incredible people come and help us find him. And I watched him for 13 days before the opener and then went back to set my camp up. And he just slipped over a saddle. Were you there?
No.
I wasn't watching
I
him.
can't remember.
I was setting camp and just went over a little saddle and never saw him again.
Yeah, that was me
season.
watching him go over the saddle.
Yeah.
Ryan.
He lost him.
I lost him.
You lost the ram.
Yeah, no, I couldn't get around to him because it wasn't possible to get around to
Yeah,
where he
and
was going.
especially in time.
like,
and there wasn't a lot of
in
country
time
over there.
and not really anyway.
And then the
like
next
that.
morning we were over
And then we
there,
didn't see him till we killed him.
surround it, and then never popped back up for
And
30 some odd days.
That was in 2015.
15. And then
How many?
So this is when Jason had the tag.
No, that was 15. Somebody else had
Okay.
the tag.
This
Okay.
is prior to.
And then
Yeah.
16.
Were you hunting him? You had a tag holder,
Mhm.
so you were gonna kill the sheep if you found him.
We had a
Yeah.
client who
You had
bought
a
the
client.
statewide tag in
Okay.
in 2015, and we
How
went
many-
after him.
So
and
hold on,
could
you
get him.
were. So you guys had him. You had him,
13 days I sat on him.
and it took you 65 to find him,
Well,
or whatever,
no.
60
So like
something days to find
I
him.
found him pretty quick, and then we found him, watched him for 13 days up to the opener, and then the day before the opener,
He went over a
Disappeared.
saddle.
he went over. Not
Just
I mean,
something that simple. Just
yeah,
went
just
over
went
a
over
saddle.
So we slept
then-
on him for 13
then-
days.
But then he headed back towards the summer country, and so we spent so much energy trying to find him over there. And then by the time we kind of figured out 100% he's not over there, he's went this way, and then we put 10 days here, and then he's not here. He had to go there. But the general season was happening, and our number 2 ram was like,
Gonna get killed.
we had to kill him.
Right.
And so we shot our number 2 ram. And then the following year, we didn't get the tag. And I remember it was September before anybody else saw this ram of that year, and they found him, and I'm like, oh, crap. And then
Just a gut punch knowing that somebody else found him.
knows about him, right?
They'd never seen him. We were the only
Yeah,
ones
they
that
just
seen
saw him
on the
on
hoof.
cameras. And then,
Yeah.
but they knew about it, and so we were nervous, and they never saw him through their glass all 2016, and then we got the tag with Jason, and
In 2017.
2017, and he had broomed some off his tips and got raccoon eyes, is what I call them. Like when a ram gets raccoon eyes, they're pretty much on their last year. They get like these white circles around their eyes.
Really?
Yeah. Every old ram you'll see pictures of, they'll have like white circles, and it's really obvious through like a spotting scope from distance. Anyway, he was kind of on his last leg. He wasn't going to make it another year, and we did a lot of scouting before Jason got there, 30 days straight.
Stressful. It was
Never
boiling hot.
Did you guys have him for those 30 days?
Never saw him.
Never saw
one
him.
time.
In 30 days.
Yeah.
And what
What time of year?
November.
Okay.
And what had happened was, so he never drank water. He would drink water sometimes during the rut when the ewes would drink, but then he would just never drink again. Water. Doesn't drink water. Barrel cactus, like he had these, and all these cracks here. He's like right-handed, so like this right here is from the barrels.
What he would
smashing
break
them
open the barrels
and
with?
it just every little crack and crevice was just jammed full of barrel cactus spines.
I never thought about that. You're right. You can see the distinction
Yeah.
between the two horns.
And when you find a ram at any point, if they're really super polished on one side in particular, you're like, oh, that's a barrel ram, and then you're not gonna go look for him where there's not barrel cactus. Like he lives there, and so like the winter country, like that's all just tips and techniques.
Yeah. Wow.
It's how he subsidizes his water or gets his nutrients.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
a lot of like good stuff in a barrel cactus. If you look up the nutrients that are in barrel cactus, you'll see has a lot of good qualities that I think for a big old ram, if they find that niche, it can get them to that.
They can just live off of that. They don't need water.
Oh yeah. There's
Really?
there's ewes that were collared, for 10 years, and they never saw him go to a water source. They just sheep historically, and this is how one kind of winding back to how we kind of messed a lot up. They would follow rain. So if there's a monsoon over there, they would run off their range and run over to that range and follow monsoons. Well, now in California, we have the 15, the 40, and the 10 stopping north and south movement. We still get east and west movement. But this ram being a ram that didn't drink water kind of kept him harder to find, but he's still just a sheep. And it was the first day with Jason, there was one spot that we really needed to look into.
So Jason showed up before you guys had even seen
I think
him.
he showed
Yes.
up a couple of days
We
before.
hadn't seen
yeah,
the
we were
ram.
stressing.
And he still showed up.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
He knew.
No, he showed up with like a Sprinter van, and he's like, let's do it. We got to till February. Let's rock out.
Love that.
And
Love that.
so day one with him, we took him and Cash, and we did a huge hike. It was 11 miles that day. But to look in a little hole that it was like a really small hole, small odds that he'd be there, but we couldn't look in there without the hunter or a rifle. And when he wasn't there, like you kind of just like feel like you're sliding down a rope the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look in the last spot, you think he is, and then he's not there. You feel like you just hit the end of the rope, and you're like,
Yeah.
this sucks.
What to do next?
Yeah, because, we were on it, right? And so the next day, Jason's like, okay, just drive me around the whole zone and let's just look at it. Well, on the very, 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 very corner where there's never, ever been sheep before, we're driving around it middle of the day, and there's a picture of this exact moment, and it's freaking gnarly. Like, Jason's, like, smiling, and I'm just, like, on the hood of my truck, like this wild emotion in my face. It's gnarly. But I see quail running across the road. I saw a doe, and there was like some flowering on some of the bushes, and you could just see like where this monsoon had striped across the end of this range. And but we were coming to it from the other way, and it was just dry and crummy, and there's never been sheep there. We did cover it, but we didn't go all the way to the end. And there's never been sheep there. It's like a spot sheep don't live. And so I'm like, oh, dude, it's green. And I pulled up my binoculars, and then just glowing on the evening light was this broken open barrel cactus. And the moment that, the photographer took the picture was me realizing, like, we found him. Like,
Even though you didn't see him.
even though I didn't see him, like, we found him, and he's going to be here. And so I remember that next morning we had a pretty big crew, and we had people backpacked in and everything, and I just called everybody off the mountain.
We had two areas left.
So one person, or Brady and Stephanie. I don't know if you know them. She won Guide of the Year in 2019. But they were like a day and a half in backpacking. So I called everybody off, but not everybody could like surround this mountain. So the next day we just stayed external and like glassed in, and we didn't see anything, not a sheep. And then the next day, every single person, I'm like, we need to surround this tiny little mountain, and we're going to go, and Jason and me are going to walk through the middle of it and see if we find him. And so this would be the fourth day that Jason's hunting, and we ended up finding him right in the middle of the range, and nobody could see him from the outside.
Just you guys.
Yeah.
Just you and Jason.
Well,
you came in from the bottom
Brady
on
and
one
Steph-
direction.
Brady
I came
and
in from another direction, and we had people high up.
And Brady and Steph, they didn't have phone service or anything. They would when they topped out, but they were just walking up the bottom of a ravine, and Steph's like, Brady. And they look, and they're like, oh, my gosh, that's him. But they can't get out to anybody.
Right.
Oh.
And so
you
anyway.
imagine being in that situation. You're 34 days in now.
Yeah,
Well,
right?
No, it was 33 days.
That year.
The day we killed him.
But then you go back two
all
years
the other
prior.
years,
Yeah, you go to
60-some days.
60-some days, 2
And
years
now
prior.
they see him and can't tell you guys?
Right. And anyway, we figure it out, and we go, but he had just gone into this canyon, right? And where he went into, nobody could see it. And so we relocate. We jump off them. We ran into
We were
Jeff
in the
and
bottom.
Brendan,
Yeah.
and we ran into them, and then we hiked out, drove to the other side, and then hiked up this like ravine, and then we topped out, and we're like, he's got to be like right there. And everybody's trying to get angles to see, and literally you couldn't see it.
Couldn't see. Yeah. That's all.
And Jason and
Was it like a tight slot?
I could see
canyon?
Jay. I could see
High.
you and Jay. I
It's
could
like
see
a hung-
Jason and Jake going over the top of the rock in, and you knew he was just right there, and that's all we could see.
It
We
was
couldn't
just like
see
a
into
hung
this.
valley with huge boulders, and you couldn't it was hung like it was just the highest point of the whole mountain range with a little
Little
ravine
notch
in the
it.
middle of it.
Yeah.
And Jason and I just go up and we're coming over, the rock, and I pull up my binoculars. There's some sheep bedded below me. There's like some ewes, and I see him, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And this is the first time we've seen him.
Wave of emotion, to say the least.
And I'm like, found him. He's like,
No way you were that calm. Were
no,
you that calm?
Yeah. I was like, it's Goliath, 100%. He's like, I knew we'd find him. Like knuckle bumped. Like his confidence is like through the roof.
Always, yep.
And so then we just crawled forward, and he was bedded, and I have a picture of it, but like where he was bedded and how big he is, you couldn't shoot him because his horns are behind his
Covered.
shoulder. He's way back here, and he's bedded broadside, and his horns blocking any possible shot at 275 yards. And then, but there was a ewe bedded up above him, and then Jason's like, man, maybe I could put one between,
Like right through
like
thread
right
the needle?
here. And I'm like, no, there's a ewe above him. Eventually, he's going to look up at her. And because when we first got on him, he was standing, and then he bedded. But like even when he was standing, it was like so hard to get an angle. Like his butt came to like here, like
Just all horn.
yeah, it was just horn everywhere, And anyway, finally, he did. He looked up at that ewe, and then Jason wasted no time, and it just like it was the most like wild, exciting thing for Jason and I, but the most anticlimactic thing for everybody
rest of the
else.
team.
Emotionally, just
Yeah.
And all
second
you
he
hear is
shot
just
it,
like,
tarantula walked over my pack right behind me. Just tarantula walked over my pack, and I just laid back. and just breathed.
Just
Breathing. It was intense, wasn't it? Didn't know how to feel, felt like crying, but didn't know how to feel.
Yeah.
Just so much effort, so much walking and hiking and climbing and time and thinking and
so
effort.
Much guessing.
Yeah, and so much hard work, so much hard work to get to that point that it was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But the hunt and the story of the animal is how it should be.
Yeah.
For such a beautiful animal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it deserved that effort. Or I don't know if deserved's the right word. It felt just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like that's how that should go.
Yeah.
And
make it to his last year health-wise.
yeah,
Right.
we were fortunate he made
And
it
he
through
was
that
still
last.
just a ram,
Elude everyone for so
Yeah.
long.
And he was just doing ram things every day. He just loved cactuses and hated water, so like it just made it harder.
Worked out in his favor for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But genetically and just his form and his shape, he's it, right?
Yeah.
Like for true Nelson eye,
Yeah.
that's what it should look like. Well, that's what you'd hope it'd look
well,
like.
yeah, that's like on crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does have genetics that we've seen, and
That's what must
still
be
around.
cool. The style of hunting and guiding is the ability to watch animals year in and year out. Like earlier you said that was a weird ram, or he was I can't remember exactly the words you used, but
7 years on him and knew everything about him.
yeah, I mean you must be
Yeah.
able to pick up individual quirky. Yeah, you must be able to
ram.
pick up little individual tendencies of each
Right.
animal
Right.
and why they do what they do. I mean, the detail that you brought up about, I mean, I'd never noticed that you get chipping out of a horn, one side of a horn because he's right-handed. He's using that side of his horn to open up a cactus.
Yeah.
Or the thought that you would look at a cactus and be like, oh, that one's broke.
I know,
There's
that's-
definitely a sheep here.
That's
I'm
what I
like,
wanted to go back to is you absolutely knew you found him just from the cactus.
100%.
Like it wasn't even a question.
We found every other mature ram in the zone.
I mean, granted, we'd had the whole map out. We covered the whole unit and mountain range. And when Jason came, he laid the map out and he went, is he there or there?
And we're like, let's go
We're like,
look
let's
here.
go find there.
And we found every mature ram, and mature rams are the ones that break the barrels open. So then we're looking for public enemy number 1, and we just found a broken barrel. And then there's like a whole barrel thing that
The whole crew knew when you guys saw that cactus. Like,
Well,
this is
I
it.
mean, there's been times, somebody came up to me. I'll spare names, but somebody came up to me that morning that we killed him, and he's like, "Hey, you're putting a lot of eggs in this basket, and this is an entire day with all these people. Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. Like, my eggs need to be in that basket right now, And it worked out. But there's like you could write a book on barrel cactus and sheep hunting. Like, it never fails. If there's a glowing broken barrel cactus in the desert, there was a ram there. And, if it's like blackish on the inside, it's like a year old. If it's yellow, it's over 2 weeks old. If it's bright white, it's 2 weeks or fresher. And if it's got green, the ram is right there.
And if it's an
like
area,
draw a 50-yard circle, like it's like a bright white, like almost a neon green, like you see a greenish.
Is that what color it was? That green color?
No,
was white?
It was yellow.
Oh, so
It was over 2 weeks old, but like with me seeing the green, like I knew.
yeah, the green up.
or there's a moving sheep through there
Yeah,
when you see them. So you
we
could see a
hunted-
white dot somewhere random. You might want to pay attention to that.
yeah. Oh, it's not a sheep. Well, does it have a red ring around it?
You know,
Like that's what it looks like, a white dot, like bright white. And you zoom in because you're like, oh, is that a sheep butt? And you're like, nope, not a sheep butt. But if it has that red ring around it, like it's game time. Like that's where you need to focus until at least you rule it out. Like we spent 3 days on those barrels this year.
Yeah.
In Kingston.
just looking at them. Yeah.
And you know how many rams? You know how many rams we saw?
0?
0.
But we
But they were there.
you learn
Yeah.
their
It was
you can
just
learn their
green and-
loops by looking at the barrel
Yeah, I bet.
understanding
Yeah.
the elevation
And
or
the
where
time
they're
frames.
hitting the barrel cactuses or
So
who did
wild.
it. You can go, okay, I know that ram hit that one.
Yeah.
Can't you by watching them, right? But
That's
I
awesome.
I would say that like where we ended up killing him, the moisture that was there once we were in there, we knew that it was something that we're seeing that we weren't seeing elsewhere. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we saw We had a couple of little surprises or little things in that day before that made us think that we were probably in the right area. But those little things all add up. Those little things, sometimes they add up to nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're right. And in this case, where we'd exhausted and really covered a lot
You
of
had so many
ground,
places checked off the list.
Yeah, that you knew that
Yeah.
was part of the answer.
And
Yeah.
And it was like March 4th, after Jason had got the tag, and I took a selfie, and he ended up sending it back to me later after we killed the ram. But it was day one of me scouting, and I was like this in the selfie, day one, and you can see where we killed the ram in the background.
No
Wow.
way.
That's insane.
We knew it. Like, you remember you went up there with Tanner and saw 4Us?
Yeah.
We knew that was the spot because we spent so much time. And then we went in there, and it was so dry, and there was no tracks. We just, like, forgot about that and then went and hammered the entire range. And then we're like, oh.
Yeah.
And it kind of lucked into it because I was just driving around the point, and I'm like, it's green. He's here. Oh, my gosh.
It's a big old buck in there, too. There's a big
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
old deer in there.
Careful, too.
Nice.
Yeah. Big old-
Now we're talking.
Well, they'd have to figure the rest of it out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was a while ago.
And that's
Yeah.
a while ago. Did the buck ever get killed?
No, my
Oh,
wife
no.
got a pretty good one close by,
Good.
but when she was this pregnant.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun to, man. I'm always blown away when you get a chance to talk to somebody that does something at a level that elite, the details and
I
just.
know.
I mean, that's my favorite part of the podcast, to be honest, is like getting a chance to sit across the table from people that do some specific thing at a level that nobody else really does. And you just can't help but it's tangible. Like you can feel it. Like there's something really special about what
Yeah.
you do, which it's fun, man. It's just, I don't know. And I've said this before too, but like, I don't care what anybody does, but like if they do it at the best level, you can't help but be inspired by it and just,
Right.
just think how neat it is that they, all the details. I love that stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. We nerd out on it for sure.
Yeah.
My
sure.
sheep hunt was 5 days, and
Yeah.
I was done.
Right.
Like it was, 3 years of wondering about this ram, 60 days in, whatever it was, the first year you guys had the tag, didn't kill him, then somebody else had the tag and found him to go through that.
And you're not staring at the
And
sheep
it's
the
like,
whole time.
no.
All that's happening. You're wondering if he's still alive.
Yeah,
You're wondering if he's
really.
got one horn, if his leg fell off. Like,
Yeah.
Got
what's
killed by a
happening?
lion.
And it happens.
Yeah, I'm sure.
My sheep hunt, I went out 4 days early, saw the ram I wanted on the second day of scouting, sat on him for the next day, and then the first 2 days of hunting disappeared, was gone. And I was calling the biologist, I was calling everybody trying to figure out like information on these rams because it's a place I'd never been.
And you're in
you
the
know?
hatchets, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 12 and a half hours away from me. So,
Right.
I don't have a team. It's me and one other Vince Huff, one other guy.
Complicated glassing
And
there
it's
too.
just me and him, and we're
It's
like
like-
trying to figure this whole thing out. And the biologist told me if a lion goes through the range, they're going to go on the north side in these cliffs, and you won't be able to hunt them. You just have to wait. And at the time, I was working for the casino job, and I was trying to start a go hunt, so I had 2 jobs going on. Like, man, I can't be here forever, hopefully this ram comes out. And so I was just sitting underneath
Sounds like
one.
you can be.
It sounds like it can be if you have the time. Sitting underneath one lone mesquite tree at the top of this mountain, and at the top of the little hatchets. Not to give too much away, but I would love for somebody to find out where all this was, so I could like live vicariously through somebody else having the tag. But
I got to hike through there, and I know what you're talking about.
oh, it's
and,
nasty.
and
Like
it's wild. There's
snakes everywhere.
and like clothing from
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
all
Yeah, all
I
over the
had
place.
I had helicopters flying over,
Yeah.
chasing
Getting
down
checked.
people. I
Yeah.
had border patrol flying through.
like you're on the border.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
legit border. I had that's where they have the Raptor F-150s down there. It's like because they're just running through the desert constantly. So I'm sitting up at the top and you just see white Raptors going everywhere, helicopters, all kinds of crazy shit. I'm waiting for this ram to come out, and I'm like, I have 4 days left. Like I don't have a lot of time. I have to get home. I'm doing these 2 things. I have so much going on. Well, anyways, he finally came out on the 5th night. He came out like right before sundown, and it was that feeling of like, okay, I can't mess up. Like I've never had that level of feeling before on an animal where
Right.
you cannot mess up. Like
That's
it
why
has to happen right now, and it has to be done.
Yeah.
There's no other way to
can't
go
mess
about
up.
this. Yeah. And like looking through the scope of that feeling was like still so vivid in my mind, even though that was 12 years ago. No, more, 14 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2012.
2012. So I was in there after you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a certain sense of sadness when you see an animal like this tip over that you spent so much time and personal interest in?
No.
Was it feel like?
And I say no, because usually when their animals are that special, they're not spry.
Sure.
And it's a different feeling because you're excited that you were successful and you're excited that the animal, like I honestly feel this, like I'm excited that the animal gets to live forever.
Yeah.
And like I'm happy for them. That sounds really weird.
No,
but
it doesn't.
like I'm happy for the animal, and unfortunately, a lot of times, some of these animals have taken precedence over most everything else in my life, which is super gnarly.
Yeah.
And so like I have this like bond with them, and then to you know, every like legendary quotes animal I've guided, I mean, they're crippled and dying. Like
right, they've lived.
Yeah, and it's probably like, you know, on the deer and elk side, I've never shot a legendary deer or elk that's not like super long in the hoof, like has like warped feet.
Yep.
And they're just spending all their time eating, and they're not rutting anymore, and they're not regressing, but they're not healthy.
Yeah.
And you're targeting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to kill something that's given everything to the herd, given all. That's why it's the dominant or larger or whatever.
Yep.
You know, whatever you're pursuing. You know.
That's a good answer. I like the answer.
Yeah,
it's always a
that
fun
was a
question
really
to
good
ask people because I don't know. I mean, I've killed some big bucks that I've put a lot of time into. Definitely not on the level that you are. I would say the longest I've ever hunted a buck was maybe 18 days, but. Now you may.
That's long.
18
That's
to
a lot. That's
18
a lot
to
of
60 though. Whew. Yeah, and it wasn't 140, but yeah. I mean, it's I like the answer. I like that you said no. You know that you, and I like the kind of the background of why you feel that way.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective, and not one that usually. I think most people, when you answer that question, myself included, I've said, yeah, I do feel like a certain sense of sadness, and I think you do to some extent because you killed an animal, you took a life, but. I think there's more to it, right?
Yeah, I think it's deeper. I don't think it could be simplified with sadness. I think it's more of like a deep appreciation.
Yep.
You know, like say your grandpa lived forever and just had this amazing life, and he passes away, and you're like sad that he's not there, but you're like a song, you're okay with it. You know?
He did it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, to the fullest extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one lone mesquite tree.
Yeah.
I sat underneath that tree in 90 degrees with snakes and scorpions and tarantulas for
You had a
5
tree,
days.
though.
Well, I mean, one little tiny tree.
Oh, man. And then, like, all the rocks, like, get shaped to your body, and then...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that, like I said, that was 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is brutal, sitting under one tree.
I don't...
And the stressful thing, too, is it was just me and one other guy, Vince Huff. Like, it was me and him. That was it. It was the one lone tree.
I think. I mean, what strikes with me is the mental grind of it, and I don't know that. I hope people get to experience something like that. You know, like that's my genuine hope. But I don't know that a lot of people that were listening to this maybe have to that full extent. But it is that mental grind that makes it that much sweeter when it works out. Because I remember. Like the buck that I'm thinking of, I remember one 5-day stretch where it rained every single day, most of the day. And I think in that 5 days, I saw a 2-point and a doe. And there was a lot of times where I was just like, what in the hell am I doing? You know what I mean? But yeah, that mental grind of it makes it so much more satisfying on the back end. And it does take a lot of mental fortitude.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and most of them, none of the hunts. You said when we first started the podcast, you said that sheep hunting might be easy.
Yeah.
Some people think it's easy, and then you have the other spectrum of people that think it's the hardest hunting that there is.
It's
kind of thing.
The easy is it's because everybody who has a tag comes back with one. I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get this like thing in your head that it's easy because the harvest success rate is so high.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so high because it's fabricated numbers.
I mean, when I said that, it was a genuine question, but it was also a little bit loaded because I wanted to understand it, and I do at a much deeper level now.
Yeah.
You know, of what goes into it to actually find success on something like that. Yeah, and it's not even just the time. It's like it's somebody like yourself that knows the details. They know what they're looking for. They know what a monsoon that just slightly blows through an edge of a unit will do for that area, and why the sheep are where they are.
When they're going to pull off.
When they're going to pull off.
Why they're going to pull off water.
Summer range, winter range.
If you don't make that effort when those things are happening, or if he's looking at the map, looking at the weather, going, there's a storm coming in, it's only going to hit this area. If we don't go out and look at that a week later, or a few days later, to see what it did, what it left in the area, and where it hit and where it didn't hit, we'd miss a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
By just not paying
Lightning
attention.
Strike apps, super handy for desert hunting.
Yeah.
Lightning strike?
Apps.
Yeah, to know where it's.
You can see where lightning strikes, but it goes away in like 4 hours. But if you can see where the monsoons blow through
Oh, yeah.
by off lightning patterns, because like the radar isn't always super, and then you'd have to be just sitting there staring at it. But like the lightning app, you can see where lightning strikes like multiple times on a little part of a range, and that means it was just hammering rain, and for monsoons and like deer hunting or sheep hunting in the desert. Really
and looking at it year round a lot as well too, looking at the changes within the units each year, how the moisture shifts where the plant sources would be and where the sheep would move to. Those little changes each year are just ground zero for information, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like we learn a lot or base a lot on little bits of information to do with that if you don't go out and just look at it, it's not really scouting. You're looking at weather, you're looking at wet ground.
Yeah.
You know, you look and see if like the grass is green on the south side or the east side, or what it looked like from what it looked like last year and the year before and the year before that and the year before that. Like you're looking at that, and then it's a big thing. And like this past, we've had a lot of rain, haven't we, in the last year or two, and it always is going to make a monsoon animal do different. It's going to make a monsoon animal do what it should naturally do. If you think about it, it's going to go where the water wants it to go, and it'll probably override the water holes if that gets that good for them.
Which I think everybody in California and Nevada this year realized that desert sheep are way harder to hunt when it's green.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Everyone struggled this year. It was really
Same with
hard.
the big mule deer buck. Yeah, they get spread out. It can be awful tough.
And like the sheep, they don't, like, especially when it started to cook off a little bit off the open faces, and they were just down in the ravines, and they were up for 4 hours a day rather than up 9 hours out of a day because they were filling their bellies and
moving freaking
super
50
quick.
yards all day or something.
And they're just stoked. Like you don't see a sheep track. Like I'm brought back to the sheep hole hunt this year. Like no sheep track. And then it would be like, oh, one lived here for a week and a half, and it's like a zoo. It's everything, every piece of grass is eaten in like a circle of 50 yards. And you're like, all right, well, bumped him.
I love the analytical approach to it, and as you're talking, both of you, it's making me realize how much bread I leave on the table every single year in my own scouting attempts. You know, to like really drilling it down into the nitty gritty. It's that's awesome. I appreciate it. I needed a kick in the butt for something like that.
For your season this year.
Yeah, for my season.
It can get overwhelming if you're just like, oh man, I'm not doing enough. I'm not whatever. I started hunting, like my dad like bird hunted, never big game hunted. And I started my mind from like search and rescue. And like I was always into the mountaineering and the snowboarding at the time. And when my mind came into hunting, it wasn't about like find the biggest animal. It was like find the best place. And I think that kind of set it apart where like I can just be hunting like a specific animal and I've never seen him. I just know that it's the biggest because like his track looks right, you know? And because he lives in the best spot and it's an old deer that like everything works, like this deer is going to be big, and it's hunting off of location and not just looking for the biggest one in like an area. I don't know. Like I never was taught the normal way to do it. And so my approach was almost from a non-hunter's perspective, and then it has worked out really well for us.
Yeah.
It's a good mentor to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lucked out.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you were to take your like biggest skateboarding accomplishments and your biggest hunting accomplishments, do they compare, or are they two completely different things? Like, do you feel
they
a certain way?
on I mean, I wouldn't say put in them, but as far as life
Yeah.
goes and life goals, absolutely. Look at this animal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have the hunting background like Jake does. I'm not a hunting guide like Jake. I'm a professional skateboarder. You know what I mean? I've known Jake now for 12, 15 years, something like that. And I love the challenge of continuously trying to find and figure out sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And elk and mule deer and predators. I love it all. And year round.
skate spots.
And skate spots.
Oh,
It's similar.
yeah. Same. I
Yeah.
can see that.
You know, it's very similar kind of challenge to always find something to do something bigger. You know, and you have to look up into the sky. Truly.
Mhm.
Like to find that stuff, and you have to go outside of your comfort zones. And yeah, I feel incredibly fortunate to have trailed sheep in the desert and have the opportunity to go and do that every year because of my friend Jake. Yeah, you know, and the challenge when we first started doing the outfit, and it was like, you know, you need eyes, and you can kill anything, right? I'm your eyes, right? Because I'm comfortable being navigating. I don't care about getting lost. That means nothing, right? I'm probably not going to get lost, and if I do, it's a problem. You'll find me.
Yeah.
You know,
One time.
like those little people don't make those goals like that the same anymore. Like I feel loyalty's forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership is not done right. I see it daily, you know, in companies, big businesses as well, like, you know, billion-dollar businesses that just aren't led right. You know, you know, when we first started doing the outfit, 2012, my biggest thing in my mind was going, in the most popular area in the western U.S., in California, the wealthiest state in the country, right? A hunting outfit, people turn their noses up at it. You don't even know it exists. Let's do one that it rises above that, is a newer, feels younger, doesn't have an ego, isn't like that old mentality. That challenge of that, yeah, I get a huge kick out of it. And was this one of those goals that was fulfilled? And I look at it as the same accomplishment as being like Thrasher Skater of the Year. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
It's awesome.
And am I challenged to like find big sheep and big animals like I was challenged to find big skate spots, or just push myself out of it? Yeah. Is that going to end? No. It'll end when I die.
Mm.
So yeah, I feel really fortunate, you know, truly.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to happen too. You know, I'm challenged to do it again. Like the effort I make in skate, where I don't try too hard. That's the problem. I don't know when to stop.
Mm.
Right? And with the outdoors, you have to know when to stop, or you're going to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a few times where those doors happen. You know, he'll call me middle of the night from satellite radio. He's been kicked by a horse in his freaking guts, and he's thinking he's bleeding internally. He's calling Geoff to ask what that feels like, to know whether he needs to hike, get on the horse in the middle of the night at 13,000 feet and go 9 miles. Right?
Yeah.
Is it 9 miles? 11?
It's like 6 hours.
6 hour ride out, 13,000 feet. He doesn't know he's going to bleed to death in the middle of the night. I'm fine with that. I know that sounds weird, but like I called you when I carried my friend. I was skating a skate spot.
Bring that up.
Spot I always wanted to go, and my friend hit his head, and he had a really bad fall. Hit his head right there. There was 2 cameramen, 2 filmers. Bottom line is he fractured his skull, blown his eardrum, and hemorrhaging on the brain. And I had to carry him out 30 minutes. And I'd just seen a freaking desert sheep. It was just on the edge of Palm Springs, Palm Desert. And so we carried him out. His blood firing in my face. He was dying, right? It's a good friend of mine. He's alive now. He's alive now. And he'll watch this. His name's Jared Hager. Jared, I'm glad you're alive. And we hiked him out.
It was that bad.
Oh, he was dying. He was straight up dead. He was dying. You know, it's going to be hard for him to watch this, but he was dying. And I carried him out with his brother. And who do I call? I tell that, we called the ambulance. Obviously, he's already coming, and paramedics. I know he's going to die. Right? Jake, this, and this. Am I thinking right? In as least amount of words as I could conjure up with, he's dying. Get him to hospital. Thank you. I just needed someone to say it.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know? So, no, I feel fortunate. I think with Kika and the outfit, we have an opportunity to have like I don't know, help hunting and help the outdoors within California by having an outfit that maybe is a little bit more professional, a little bit more upstanding, and to try to help the bigger picture. Like, you can hit me up anytime you want with questions about like California and outfitting and hunting, and I want to help you. I might not have the time to always respond, but it's the same way. Not every outfit's like that. It's quite competitive, and everyone knows the outfitters out in the West and everywhere. They all want to kill each other, right? I don't have time. We don't have time for that. We're busy killing big sheep. You know, we're busy like out there trying to find animals and running the business.
Right.
You know, and the best thing we can do is lead by example. You know, and I think that the best thing that we have done with Kika is lead by example and kill huge animals.
And just keep our mouth shut and just keep our nose on the grindstone and work, you know.
Try to partner with good companies, you know, Yeti, 6 Hour, you know, and Henry, Kuyu, you know, we and Go Hunt. We try to partner with people we like that are going to take the hunting industry and the shooting sports and all of that to the next chapter for our children. You know, we want to see it have another chance, right, as we go into the next generation. And it's going to take people your age, and my age to get off their ass and show people what that looks like. Well, we're in California. We're getting kicked in the balls daily, you know. I'm a professional skateboarder, and I hunt like crazy. There's none in my industry that hunt. There's like 1 or 2 people I know in the whole of like youth skate surf culture. A lot of surfers hunt, but they're all bow hunters.
Yeah.
They need to pick up a rifle, shoot something properly.
Love that. That's what you need to get Trail on board with.
I actually tried to I was like, we need to get you into bow hunting. And I was laughing because I thought he might be like, yeah, maybe. But it was like very to the point. He's like,
nope.
I like lever action rifles.
No, I'm a joke. I'll be a traditional archer at some point. I love it all. Like, that's the truth of it. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a hard state. So I'm thankful, you know, that we just have the opportunity to do this.
When you say I can't quit, like you remember do you know Eric Jackson, pro snowboarder?
Oh,
we had him on the podcast too. You strike me very similar, very similar. But what is that? Where did that come from? How do you teach it? Can you?
I don't know. Teach what? Like a no off switch? Don't give a fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, partly. Because, I mean, there's
your
like
environment, whatever your environment always plays a big part of who you are,
there's
right?
Greatness in that, right?
I could tell you why I feel like I do and why I'm driven like that. Really, in very simple form, I had a really good father who was a strong man and worked really hard and led by example. And I had a loving mother, really kind, right? That balance, that. My mother gave me a strong heart, like, you're not going to give in. You can do anything you want. And my dad showed me that you could be strong like that. And he still does.
And the same exact story for me.
And that's a lot of what we had in common.
Yeah. And they both let us live in uncomfortable conditions.
Yeah.
When we decided that's what we wanted to do. They let us do it, you know. And probably had limited protection. You on the streets of Liverpool.
Oh, I got beat up.
Yeah.
That side of it's like one side. You grow up in a big city. Like, I'm not a fighter. I'm not. I'm not at all like that. I grew up in a really rough city. I got picked. Everyone does in a rough city. You can imagine growing up in the east side of Chicago in a rough area. I grew up in the north of England in a beautiful city that was rough. Was a lot of conflict, you know, like that, but not a unhinged, just open door of shooting and stabbing and murder. It was literally fighting. And no cameras back then, and you were beaten up, you were picked on, you knew that kid was bigger than you were always put in your place, like every school. But then it was little more physical, a little more like that. That helped.
Yeah.
Because if you've already been to the edge, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
If you've been picked on and beaten up, if you've been punched in the face to the point where you know it really hurts, you know that next time somebody's going to punch you in the face, it might hurt like that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think just that, really. There's no secret. There's no secret. Just don't be lazy.
Right.
Yeah, good answer. That was solid.
That was solid. And I think it's really easy for people to be lazy nowadays. Like, it's too easy just to choose lazy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're not going to get very far sheep hunting being lazy, are you? Let's face
you're
it.
not going to get far doing
anything, right?
Yeah. But no, especially in what we choose here, the the top level of the things that you're going after, you got to give it everything, haven't you? Now, I made a decision probably shortly before Jake and I met that, like, if I was going to die doing it, I was going to die doing it. And I remember going through the mental thought process of, are you going to be Evel Knievel, or are you going to just, like, have a limit? And then I realized that, no, I'm going to do what I can physically do to as far as I can possibly do it. And once I hit there, then I have a limit. And I did that, right? And I just haven't closed the door.
Mm-hmm.
I just left the door open. I'm just not going to go through it very often.
Yeah.
I'm smart. I mean, look at what happens to me.
He's still kind of,
you know?
I love it, man. You're incredibly inspiring. I mean, I think the whole attitude is so awesome.
I agree.
Super cool, man.
Thank you. I mean, I do lay in bed, you know, like everybody would, in pain.
Sure.
In a ball, going, fuck, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I do this to myself again? Like, my poor freaking kids, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I try not to be stupid about that now. I think I try to make really smart moves in the skate side of it to just stay in one shape.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like the end of the story to have I wouldn't say a happy ending, have an ending that's not a bad ending. But if that happens, that happens. Like I said, I already made that decision a long time ago, so you know I'm living my dream.
Mm-hmm.
You can shut my lights out if I'm living my dream.
Yeah.
I'm already in a happy place, in a higher place.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, any other questions you wanted to hit?
No.
Let's go hunting.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I want to do. Hopefully have a sheep tag this year. That'd be
I mean,
fantastic.
I have a billion skateboard questions, but I promised myself today when I was driving down, I was like, I'm not going to just like pepper him with skateboard questions because I want to talk.
Because this is a hunting podcast?
Well, because I want to talk
that's
hunting.
what we're supposed to talk
I
about?
want to talk hunting with somebody that, you know, does something else that also hunts. I wanted your perspective on hunting.
You should come out, sheep camp, walk up a mountain, walk up a hillside.
Yeah, I'd
with
love
us.
it, man. That would be awesome.
Get a sense
That's
for it.
the life that not a lot of people know about trail. Big skateboarder.
Big fan.
Big
I
fan of
don't-
skateboarding.
I haven't skated, but a huge fan.
Still skate now?
I still have my board in the truck, but
Do
I push around a little bit. My kids got into it maybe 5-6 years ago, so we went to the local skate shop and just kitted out
It's a positive thing.
three boards, and I still get out and push around a little bit.
Safe place for, if I've learned anything, like the skate park is a safe place for kids. I have kids, and I would feel good leaving them and dropping them there because 9 times out of 10, everyone can see what's happening. It's not usually like they're not bad places like other, you know, the dark side of the park. The skate park usually is a safe place.
Yeah.
I say that in all honesty.
Yeah.
It is.
I remember my youngest kid, I took him to the park one day and he came home and he's like, I don't know, it feels like kind of a rough crowd at the skate park. He's like, they're all saying fuck. And he's like, there's a couple of them there smoking and shit. And I was like, but yeah, I'm like, that's like kind of the person I want you to be around a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like unapologetically themselves. Like they're out there, they're doing their thing. They're having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. Like I'm kind of, that's what I want actually, to be honest. And I mean, there's bad eggs in every batch, but.
Well, and that gives your children a chance to choose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they never feel like,
Yeah.
you know, they missed out on
exactly.
something.
Yeah.
They got the ability to choose
Exactly.
on their own. And that makes good adults.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or druggies.
one of two. Yeah.
If they choose wrong.
Well, man, I really appreciate you guys coming. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. So thanks for making the drive. I know you got up early to fly. You drove in for 4.5 hours this morning.
It took about 3.5. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and I think they about beat me to the office.
I know.